Hey everybody! Well, we did it. We made it through all 5 objectives in our 14th chapter of our math book, Telling Time. So we're just going to take a minute, a pause here, to review what you already know for the test. All right. The first thing that you guys already knew when you came to me this year was that there are 2 hands on the clock. And these hands do very different jobs. The shorter hand, the one that we usually color red in all of our assignments, is pointing to the numbers on the clock. The hours, 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. That's the job of the hour hand. Usually you write that information in the front of the colon. So over here I might do 3 o'clock, or in this case, I might say 10, right? Because it's pointing at the 10. Now, the longer hand is the tricky one because you think sometimes it's pointing at the number, but it doesn't really make sense, does it? Otherwise, this would be 10, 12. This is not 10, 12. This is 10, 0, 0. That's what we're looking at here. Well, where are these other numbers? Well, they are way down at the bottom in tiny little print. Like it'll be 0 here. This would say 5. This would be 10. This would be 15. This clock doesn't even have them. So the way to find them is you have to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, right? So the blue hand's job is to point to the minutes. And in this case, there are no minutes. So this is telling time, right? There's 2 ways to do it. You can use the digital clock that most of us have on our phones and our tablets. Much easier to read, 10 o'clock. Or the old-fashioned way with the 2 hands. Not all that hard to read though, because look, points at the 10, points at the 0. We learned this, and to be honest, reviewed it as something you already knew. 2 hands on the clock. The next day, whoa, what am I doing there? The next day, we started talking about, and I kind of gave this away, the minute hand and how, when it moves around the clock, you count by 5s to find out how many minutes. So right now it's pointing at the 1. This is not 10, 1. We know it's 10 something, right? Because we see the hour hand clearly pointing at the 10. But how many minutes do we have? Well, the way to find the minutes is to count around the outside. So it's going to be 0, and then it goes 5, 10, 15. Keep going, right? All the way around. I do recommend that you memorize that straight down is always the 30, because there are tons of 30s. Half past, 3:30, 6:30 that your mom and dad talk about in your day. So it's good to just memorize that that's half past. This is the 45. I always remember that the 11 is the 55. But for some of the other ones, you can count 5, 10, 15, 20. Yep, 25. And we practice filling in all these numbers. So this time is actually 10:05. Or 5 minutes after 10, someone might say. And then the last part of this that I want to review today, because we can always do a little bit more review tomorrow, right? Is sometimes what happens is the book does some of the work for you, and then they want you to finish the job for them. So we were asked on these 2 clocks to draw the missing hands. So in this first clock, they did the 1 o'clock for us, no problem. But they didn't do the 30 minutes after 1 o'clock. So if this is 1 o'clock, now I have to do 30 minutes after. And you remember how I said we're going to memorize that the 30 is at the bottom? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. This time should be written like this. If you look at your iPad, it would look like this. If you looked at the old-fashioned clock, it would look like this. But you could describe this time as 30 minutes after 1. Sure. So this one is showing a time after 9. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mr. W, look at this. It's getting really close to 10. That is true. But even if your birthday is next month, you're really close to being 8, you're still 7, right? So even though it's getting close to 10, it is still not 10. It's 9. 9 something. And the something it is quite big because it's so close to the 10. I know a lot of minutes have gone by. How many minutes? 45 minutes have gone by. So I'm going to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So that long hand is going to come way out and show 45 minutes after 9 o'clock or 9:45. All right, so in order to practice those first couple things, what I would like you to do is the first of 2 pages of review. This is what your page is going to look like. The first thing I assigned for you in Seesaw is a review of the words that are associated with clocks and telling time. So minutes, you see that a lot. So you should know that word, minutes. We're going to read these sentences and try to put minutes into one of them. Hours, okay? And then we did AM and PM. AM is more thought of as the morning time, and then PM is the afternoon, evening time. Down at the bottom, you have to read a couple clocks for me and write that time. And that's about all I want you to do today. Just practice a little bit with those vocabulary words and telling a couple time, reading a couple clocks and telling the time that associates with them. Okay? And then I have a fun math game for you today. I'll find you on the next slide. Thanks, guys.